We have come to our crossroads in America. All we are capitalists.
Racist, even though you're products of a racist society.
That's the problem.
Don't be
People
racist
knew me.
while you're doing this impossible.
And they respect it because I respected
You
you.
remember say, did you know that when you police this way, this is how it feels to us? And the officer's saying, did you know that this is why you're doing it?
We're greedy. We have so much hatred in each other. And we don't have respect for each other. We have to put a foundation back in ourselves and in our life. We got problems, folks. We're fighting civil rights in all kind of angles to protect the young folks and my old butt too, not just them, but most of the people that's trying to live a little longer. It hasn't gotten better, and especially in our black community. There's no respect for the police officers. They have to rebuild themselves in the black community. I think it's time now that we have to look at the situation on the real side of life, not pretending. We used to have so many policemen I knew by names as I would run through the street. We don't now. I don't know them at all, and that's a shame. I'm the president of the NAACP. I should know some of these people. We have to put a foundation back in ourselves and in our life.
I myself think they need more sensitivity training, and I've already spoke to certain entities about this, that this is what's needed in the future. You cannot keep on hiring these young police officers from outside the city, which has no stake in the city. Sensitivity training is a great importance to teach these young officers. For instance, how do you expect the general public to respect you when you come through the area, you're driving down the street, your windows are up, you're on the phone, on the computer in your car, you don't talk to nobody, okay, or you're on the phone. All you do is respond to a call. You come back in the area with your siren on, your lights on, and then you want information. But then still, when you was driving through, you didn't say, hey, how you doing? When I came along as a Pittsburgh police officer, we were told, get out of the cars, talk to the people, walk the beat a little bit, get to know the people. No, they will talk to you, and that's what I did. And when I left the sheriff department, I took that same mentality over there. I didn't have too much of a problem. People knew me. And they respected it because I respected you. You respect me, I respect you.
As a small town in the white part of town, it didn't really have, you would never be bothered by the police unless you were fighting or drinking or the things I was doing. The history of policing in America has been to control what are considered dangerous minorities from the beginning. At the advent of industrialization, when immigrants were coming to America, Irish and Italians, they'd live in urban ghettos, and the police force was developed to keep them controlled. It was the more established German class that became police officers. So we've always seen certain segments of the population as scary and threatening and bad for business. And it's shifted over time, and right now it's on African Americans and also Latinos. Because if you start from that point, saying this is why we have police, and then say, well, we want policing in a democracy. What do we want it to do? We want it to keep us safe, we want to respect our rights, and we don't want to pay very much for it, right? As little as possible. They can't do that. Those three things can't all go together at once well. On top of that, now we're saying, and don't be racist. While you're at it, don't be racist. Even though you're products of a racist society, don't be racist while you're doing this impossible job. They're right in a sense about being victims, because not to minimize the deaths of these young men, but we incarcerate more of our citizens than any other nation in history, right? That disproportionately affects the African American community, African American males. Every day, there's all these men in prison, right, as a result of a racist criminal justice system. So, in a sense, police are victims because they take the heat for an entire system that's racist. They're just the front line. They're just what we see because they have uniforms on there in the street. A judge or a lawyer can walk by you downtown dressed in a suit. You don't know who that is. You know, a cop walks by, you know who that is.
I recognize the need to improve policing, and I recognize that the way to improve the quality of the policing services my own department would provide is if I could improve the leadership system within my own police department. I recognize leadership impacted on the way that officers felt about their job, and if officers feel like they're treated well, they'll treat the public well. I told Mayor Peduto, well, this is my diagnosis of what occurred. The organization, the Pittsburgh Police Department, Bureau of Police, started operating as a closed system. It wasn't adapting to demands from its external environment, wasn't adapting to demands from its internal environment, and so most of the problems you're looking at, Mayor, are symptoms of the collapse of a leadership system. We got the community members together, the cops together, and we started having really honest dialogue where the community members say, did you know that when you police this way, this is how it feels to us? And the officer's saying, did you know that this is why we're doing it? And over time, it started off fairly tense, pretty uncomfortable, and over time we started coming to the middle and started to understand one another, started to respect one another, and all of a sudden really cool things started to happen. The citizen doesn't like the way it feels, we don't communicate well enough why we're doing what we're doing, fear and distrust starts to develop on both sides. So the dynamic's the same. And as you look at those distributions, you know, on a geo map, you see that they tend to be very focused in specific areas. Downtown area, huge concentration, and in a lot of our poorer neighborhoods, which in Pittsburgh almost invariably means there to be some racial disparity as well. And we know that there's crime here because the chief, the commanders, they showed us maps. This is where the crime is. You know, the chief's saying we need to reduce the gun violence in Homewood. You know, the drug trafficking is driving the guns, so let's get out there and so what do? You drive around like this, right? Looking around for something that looks like drug activity or looks like somebody with a gun. And then you're accused of profiling because your enforcement's creating a disparity. So it's an incredibly frustrating thing for the police standpoint that we have to go where the crime is harming the community the worst, and it would be illegal as well as inappropriate for the police to stay away from those neighborhoods most affected because we don't want to have an adverse impact. We just got to be a little bit more artful in the way we do it, because historically we haven't.
If we're just going to put this all back on the police again, we're never going to get anywhere. Okay, we have to all start from the realization that, you know, race is just something that someone made up so that one person could own another person. It's not real. If you believe that you're white or you're black or whatever, as most of us do, you're a victim of racism.
Priority number one for me, again, is to restore the integrity of the leadership systems and make sure that my cops feel valued and respected and treated well. That will help, because no matter how hard I try, and I could put them through all the training in the world, but if you think the world has done you wrong, you're not going to treat the public well. So I've got to prioritize taking good care of my people right up there as a high priority.
Life doesn't balance out fair for anyone on the face of this earth. I don't think it's fair. I feel that we're not going to make it fair, but we got to make it right by law as best we can. The law should function, period. That's what it's for. It's our Constitution. We have rights here in this country.